Disney executives were confused because they didn't know if Depp were drunk or gay or both or not. So Eisner was complaining about that, saying he's ruining the film.
Ask about Illuminati, since the Charlie up ducks. Is it Disney mind control? Is this MK Ultra Deluxe? Occult Disney, we go from real to real. Occult Disney, Bohemian Grove and no more real. Occult Disney, ask about Illuminati. Occult Disney, we teach occult to everybody. Occult Disney, the wish upon a star. Occult Disney, you know not to travel far. Oh, Occult Disney, the new brand Pinocchio. Yeah, yeah. Occult Disney, it's above so below. Occult Disney, please enjoy the show.
Avasti, mateys, welcome to ye Occult Disney podcast. Actually, I'm doing that wrong for this movie. Avasti, mateys, welcome to the Occult Disney podcast. I can't do a Depp, by the way. Yeah, it's the Occult Disney podcast. We're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. This is Matt here. It's Paranoid American over there. What it is?
You took me by surprise with that intro. Thank you. And is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
I was doing the pirate accent, so I don't know. I don't know what I said, and I don't know what the answer is. Caribbean. There, I just said Caribbean. I don't know. I don't know if that's correct. That's just why I said that's my flash memory at work.
I go by the song. Isn't it Caribbean Queen or is it Caribbean
Queen?
Caribbean.
Okay, sorry. The only way to do it's to sing the song, right? You know, you got to have that Billy Ocean in you, right? Did you ever see the Mr. Show sketch where there's a bunch of like lamos that want to do a protest or no, they want to do a terrorist act, but they're too polite, so it ends up that they play Caribbean Queen at high volumes from a van in the middle of a desert.
This is actually what the FBI or the ATF did to Waco, I believe.
Yeah, but there's not. It is, but there's nothing there in the Mr. Show sketch. So it's just a van in the desert playing Caribbean Queen to not actually annoy anybody.
It was back when David Cross was less insufferable.
All right. Okay, well, I guess I mostly know David Cross from 20, 30 years ago, so I'm doing good. But that's not today. It's Johnny Depp today. It's like I said, the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I had to put the correct guitars behind me. Not quite correct. I was telling you beforehand, that's the White Pearl, which the Black Pearl was sold out, and I went to Tokyo, so that's a trip for me, you know. So
you just wanted an excuse to buy a new guitar. That's all I heard.
I did, and yeah. But to make it fair, it's still piratey. It's got gold hardware, right? Gold makes things pirate looking.
Fair point. And rum.
And then of course Telecaster's there for Keith Richards, who's not in this movie, but is in the next one, I think. I also have a pirate tooth.
Keith Richards was the model that Johnny Depp based his character off of.
No, I know. That's why the Telecaster's back there. It's not McAlber. That's a old school Telecaster. McAlber has changes. That's Keith Richards' guitar, if anyone's not sure what McAlber is. Named after Great Expectations, I think.
Before we get too far in, this seems to be the most iconic Johnny Depp role, especially if you just remove all Tim Burton movies from his
okay. I was about to say, what about Edward Scissorhands? What about Ed Wood? But okay, once you say that, 100%.
Doesn't the fact that there's now been 3 or 4 or 5 Pirates movies and video games and all sorts of ancillary stuff with Johnny, it seems that this is Johnny Depp's most iconic role because Edward Scissorhands was just that one movie that had nostalgia.
Right, exactly. I am going to keep throwing Ed Wood up because I love that movie, but that is not a particularly popular movie. It's a good movie, not a popular movie. I think that's correct.
It was in black and white, so it had a very limited audience.
I've also watched Ed Wood's actual movies more times than I care to admit. So
Oh, what was it? It's like
Plan 9 from Outer Space, Glenn or
There you
Glenda, Bride of the Monster.
You got
There are more. Orgy of the Dead. That's a great title. That's not one of the better movies. I will throw out Glenn or Glenda. It was a good movie, except for the 10 minutes of really super softcore, horny stuff they put out. I'm not even gonna call it porn. It's just weird softcore horny that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, because that's what you do. It's like, my movie is 50 minutes long. It needs to be 60. Let's put in 10 minutes to 10 minutes to titillate. That's a good phrase. I like that.
That's actually a really good album title. 10 minutes to titillation sounds like an 80s hair rock band. The 2 minutes to midnight, 5 minutes to midnight. I can never remember how many minutes to midnight.
I just asked yesterday. I said, "Give me a name right now." Binaural track, because I have a binaural track on my iPad. So give me a title now. And he's a bit of a mystic, so he gave me the depths of fieldation. I remember it, so now I have to use it.
That's the rule. If I can make up something that you'll remember, you have to make a song out of it.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. 10-minute titillation.
10-minute titillation. As far as pirates, how did you first come across this movie? I was literally hanging in the woods. I was on boats when this movie came out. This is the summer I was like working at the whale camp, I think. So I did not see this in the theaters. I did see Toy Story. No, Finding Nemo, Freddy versus Jason. I did see some movies in the theater. I'd go off my little island and go to the movie theater. For my days off, I'd hang out in the mall in the movie theater, because my work days were spent completely outdoors and on the water and stuff. But yeah, I was on boats and stuff. So I missed it because I was on boats. And I remember 6 months later, it came on DVD. And it was cheap at Walmart, and my roommate was out of town. So I remember I went to Walmart, I got the movie and a bottle of rum and watched it.
I distinctly remember pirating this movie because that was just fun. Like if I pirated pirates, I felt like more of a pirate than anyone in the movie at the point, because it's 2003. So this is right at the tail end of military, right at the very beginning of Disney. I had so much going on at this point that I remember that I saw it, but I don't actually remember almost any of the movies. So rewatching it for us to now talk about it was maybe the first time that I fully gave it all of my attention and was taking notes and like actually cared about what they were saying.
Okay, interesting. Me watching it last night, I didn't have a bad time or anything, but I guess so much of this has become just like standard tropes now, right? Like, I just thought the movie was actually like slightly boring. The swashbuckling sword battle between Orlando Bloom and Johnny Depp was I was still impressed by that. That was good fight choreography. The movie's fine. It is. I'm comparing this in the realm of good movies. I'm saying it's on the lesser end of good movies.
Yeah, and just from doing this, and I assume you do this too, from all these different TV show and movie reviews and stuff. But before I start any movie now, I look immediately at the runtime, and I see this one is about 2.5 hours, and I was kind of dreading it. But I honestly didn't look down at the runtime again throughout the course of the movie. So I think that's one of my new metrics, is at any point do I look and say, God, how much longer do I have to sit through this? And if I don't, then I think that means it's a pretty decent movie. So by that metric alone, this is a decent movie.
Okay, I did check, but it was also after midnight, so it's just like, when do I get to go to bed, right?
And honestly, watching this movie with the occult Disney lens on made it even better for me. Like, I think that if I wasn't watching it and looking out for Knights Templar and Freemason references, that it might have just felt of very much stitched together memes that I've seen a million times. But I don't know. I think I was able to pull a couple really interesting notes from this that made it more entertaining to watch.
Okay, obviously I come in from the other perspective, looking at production stuff, and I mean, I'm noticing stuff. I'm like, okay, obviously this signet or whatever you call the skull thing, has the piece of 8 has something going there, but you know,
it was Aztec gold.
Aztec gold. There we go. I guess my main research is just well, you just rode the ride in Florida, did you? Did you get the ride in? Since this is our ride month,
we did it 3 times in one day.
Did you do it with a beer?
I didn't know you're allowed to do it with a beer.
I don't think you're, but so Tokyo Disneyland one. I'm gonna brag a little bit. The Tokyo one has the 3 minutes of atmospheric cave stuff at the beginning, which I don't think Florida has. Is that correct? You just
It does not. No, we don't have a lot of. We don't have 3 minutes of anything in that one. The whole ride is maybe 35 minutes.
Oh, okay. So anyway, atmospheric cave stuff you get at the beginning of the Disneyland version, California and Tokyo. Big plus to that. That does factor into this movie, I think, which would make the Florida ride slightly more confusing. But yeah, across from Tokyo, there's a gazebo, and they serve beer in these aluminum cups, which keep them like cold as hell. And I in the past, I'll drink one, then ride pirates, and I drank half, and I was like, wait a minute, I could just put this into like my backpack pocket, and then in the middle of Pirates, I could just start drinking a beer on Pirates. I got lucky. I got in the very back seat. There were like 4 Japanese schoolgirls and the one in front of me crammed into there. So they're crowded. I'm sitting there with my arms out in the back of the boat, and I have like this incredibly cold beer in my backpack. So that's winning Pirates. That was better than the movie by like a 5-time multiplier.
I just had to look this up as you were talking. Magic Kingdom only recently serves alcohol, but it's only at table service restaurants. I know Epcot, you can go and grab a beer.
Oh, you can drink around the world there.
But I don't think that Magic Kingdom until recently even had an option to get beer, let alone like a quick one that you would go and grab next to the ride and then jump on the ride. So
I think that's true for Tokyo as well. There's not so many assholes willing to do that probably in Japan. I don't know. There's a lot of foreigners now. Someone else got to get the idea in their head. But yeah, the only way to one up that would to also have a big ass cigar while on the ride, but I didn't have that.
Oh, and it's so much easier to sneak fentanyl into the parks anyways.
Fentanyl and Pirates of the Caribbean. There we go. You don't even remember the thing. You slept and then you died.
It's one of the more relaxing and like long sort of rides that you can go on there. So it would be a good one to nod out on for sure.
Yeah. Also, having ridden Tokyo a few weeks, I did that when I did Haunted Mansion, of course. But yeah, they have all the un-PC stuff is still there. They still have the pirates selling the ladies, and then the ladies are chasing the pirates in the next scene. But they've changed it somewhat, I think, in the American version. We do have Depp. We have 2 or 3 Depps. We got 1 Jeffrey Rush. So the movie has still made its way onto the Tokyo ride. Otherwise, it's pretty old school.
So Florida does have 2 or 3 Depps as well. You see them, I believe, in the jail scene. You see them at one point when you're going under a bridge. And then you see him at the very end. He's sort of in this treasure room sitting on this throne surrounded by treasure. There's only one problematic scene, I think, that I clocked, although I am quite problematic myself, so I might not be able to identify him. But there was one that I remember even as a kid, that there's a lady chasing a guy around and like hitting him over the head with a frying pan or something. And that, I mean, that seems like obvious domestic violence, but if it's the woman hitting the guy, then it's funny. But I immediately, when I was looking at that, I was like, man, if they just flip these genders, this ride would be shut down ASAP.
That's what I'm saying. The Tokyo one, the scene before that, it is still the opposite. The pirates are selling the ladies and the pirates are chasing the ladies, which honestly, it's weird they just left that in, right? Because that's the punchline. And now there's not the setup. So that's kind of weird because it's like, can I do something non-PC to make a punchline? Apparently on the Florida one, no.
And also the beginning of the Florida one, it's not 3 minutes of ambient caves, but you do come out in this like this short little cave, and then it kind of simulates you being out at sea, and there's a pirate ship.
Right. Oh, you go straight to that. Okay. I haven't been to Disneyland, but I think Tokyo is the same. There's a restaurant when you get on the ride. Next to you is the Blue Bayou restaurant, which I've eaten at once. But yeah, you actually go past the restaurant, then you go past this like quiet little, cabin or whatever with the guy. I noticed that last time he did not have, it was an animatronic playing the banjo, but he didn't have the banjo, which made it look weird. I guess the banjo is in for repair. And then you do the drop, and then you go through like 3 minutes of like scary ghost caves, and then you get to the pirate ship. So the narrative does work better on the longer ride, for sure. The thing is, in Florida, they didn't put pirates in when they opened the Magic Kingdom. They're like, people won't care because this is southeastern stuff, right? They live right there. But then after a year, everyone's like, where's pirates? So they rush jobbed it and put an incomplete one in because
not just that, but especially in the Florida parks, the Pirates ride is a refuge from the hot outdoors where it's the sun's beating down on you and it's humid. The Pirates is one of the very few rides that you get on, and immediately you go into the dark, and there's like water misting at you. It's truly a palate cleanser for being in the park. And then you go back out, and you're blinded again, and the sun's beating down on you. That one, and I guess
sneak a
Haunted
freezing
Mansion
cold
too.
beer on.
but Haunted Mansion doesn't have the mists. They have like some gusts of like wind and stuff. You can tell like my favorite experience in the theme parks is which rides are air conditioned. That's kind of like the top of my list.
Well, depends on the park, because when I went a few weeks ago and it was hotter in the hinges of hell, Pirates, it's a little cooler. It is nice when you're on the ride, as you're saying. Haunted Mansion, man, I walked in the front door and got a blast of air conditioning. So my experience last time was Haunted Mansion doing that, not Pirates. It just
you might be onto something here. A whole new avenue where we just go and rate the air conditioning of rides all around the world.
Air conditioner performance review. Yeah, for sure. People love that. But yeah, this movie, I guess there was something in the water, you matey, about doing these. They were just getting in the bloodstream of doing these pirate rides, or not pirate, ride rides. Pirate rides actually sounded more sensible, say, than pirate rides. The original story featured Will Turner as a prison guard who releases Jack Sparrow to rescue Elizabeth Swann. Interesting that's the same characters. Jack Sparrow, the first thought to play him. So I am curious on your reaction to this. Choice number one was Matthew McConaughey.
No.
Okay, so for my other podcast, soft plug, Films and Filth, this past week we did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, where Matthew McConaughey is the main non-Leatherface villain. And after watching that, I'm going to say yes. He could have pulled it off. He might have been a lot better to be. I mean, it's Johnny Depp, it's Captain Jack Sparrow. It's iconic. We all know it. It's great. But I'm like, I don't know, McConaughey, because he became a star, and then they didn't have him playing villains. He even delivers the all right line in this Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It's crazy. Have you seen that one?
He didn't have a crippling drug addiction that was actually affecting his personal and professional life to the same extent that Johnny Depp did. And I feel that's a certain like je ne sais quoi of acting, is that you cast someone that actually has problems with substances to play a character that has problems with substances.
Okay. Yeah, but Matthew McConaughey did a movie with Leatherface and drag. That doesn't trump the drug abuse. Hey, you know what? This is about the time they could have also. This is right time for Robert Downey Jr. That could have been a very different Robert Downey Jr. pathway too. He would have pulled this off.
All three of these options seem fair, right? But like if we're playing who's got the weirder backstory, we're talking about Johnny Depp lost a finger to his girlfriend before she defecated in his bed, and this was around the period when he is like at his height of Pirates, right? So I don't know, man. I feel that some of that crazy personal life energy made its way into this character, and that's what made it iconic, more than just him putting on a good character.
Yeah, it is still. It's just very interesting to me because I didn't know this before. They wanted Matthew McConaughey because they thought he looked like Burt Lancaster. Okay, that's kind of who had inspired the original interpretation of the character. That's wrong. Keith Richards is the correct choice. Okay, maybe Johnny Depp brought that choice along. So
I'm honestly pro pirate. I think I've got a pirate bias. I'm surprised that there wasn't a pirate fever the same way that we had a Western fever or a zombie fever in cinema. I mean, I'm sure pirate as a motif, maybe it's just more expensive to shoot. I'm not really sure why, but
filming on water, man. You film on water, you have now made your shoot like way more difficult and way more expensive.
And I mean, I can appreciate it. This movie, it definitely is entertaining and it's done really well. Like there's no part of it that I think they could have done better. Some of it's dated. Some of the 3D effects and stuff are dated, but honestly, it holds up just fine watching it through.
Oh, crazy. There was also thoughts of making this direct to video for a while. Because if you remember, the only movie Country Bears had flopped before this. Haunted Mansion was kind of half-assed. And Mission to Mars was Did I say that already? Anyway, they weren't doing well with the ride movies, so they were thinking direct-to-video, in which case Christopher Walken or Carrie Ewells would have been their pirate choice. How do you feel about that? A 55-year-old Christopher Walken as Captain Jack Sparrow.
That sounds appropriate for a straight-to-video version of this. And
I kind of want both versions. I do want this version, but I also want the straight-to-video version with Christopher Walken as Captain Jack Sparrow. I don't need Carrie Ewells. We already have Robin Hood Men in Tights. He's basically doing it there, right? Different kind of pirate.
Well, there's another theme that I think we've uncovered going over all these different Disney movies over the last couple of years, and that's that when Disney thinks that they've got a straight-to-video on their hands, they're probably wrong. And when they think that they've got a blockbuster on their hands, they're probably wrong about that. There should be some inversion logic somewhere at the height of the C-suite of Disney where, heck, if that guy thinks this movie is going to do great, let's not release it.
Oh, okay. I have to read this a little bit. I'll read it straight from Wiki because it's a fun counterpoint to that. The box office failure of The Country Bears made Michael Eisner attempt to shut down production of Pirates of the Caribbean. However, director Gore Verbinski told his concept artist to keep working on the picture, and when Eisner came to finish, Eisner was astonished by what he had created. So it seems like he was like actively trying to cancel the movie because of The Country Bears. And this is like one of the biggest blockbusters of the 2000s, you know, so it's kind of funny.
I'm imagining in Eisner's head, it's just like, well, if the Country Bears movie didn't work, nothing's going to work.
I understand that way of thinking. We discussed that last week.
You were very pro Country Bears, but
I'm very pro
Country Bears is like watching The Room a little bit. Like you can derive entertainment from it, but I think that if you were to just grab someone off the street and sat them down to watch this, I don't think a lot of people would understand or appreciate it to the same level.
They'd call the police on me for sure.
Well, yeah, they were like, Matt, we've been over this. You're not allowed to kidnap people and force them to watch Country Bears anymore.
I'm kind of guilty of that twice now, by the way. I mean, you know, yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, this one just massive blockbuster. I mean, this is late stage Eisner. I started I don't even know what reason. It was just on the top of my Kindle. So I started reading his book Camp. Apparently, Eisner has a weird post-Disney track record. He wrote a book about summer camp, which he's currently doing speaking tour about. He produced BoJack Horseman. That's weird. That's a great show, but weird that Michael Eisner would be a producer there. And then he like owns like a rugby team or something. It's a very bizarre palette that he's currently rocking.
It almost sounds like Tim Cook or some of the other guys that ran Apple that weren't Steve Jobs, like the non-Steve Jobs Apple guys, and they go on these speaking engagements, and it's like, I'll talk about anything except for Apple, the one thing that you probably care about. Yeah,
I think that's what Eisner's doing right now. Let's talk about summer camp, and if you trick me into talking about Disney, it might happen. But but yes, on the Pirates. Let's see. I think I got all the actors out of the way. Eisner asks, why does this movie have to cost so much? Because they're competing against Lord of the Rings and the Matrix. What is the budget on this one? Because like again, water makes things cost more. $140 million budget, pretty high for the time. Pretty high for now. $654 million box office. So runaway success. How many of the sequels have you seen? I saw 2 and 3 in this theater, and by the time 4 came out, I couldn't be bothered. And then I think there's a 5th one too.
I think I saw the 2nd one and paid attention, and who knows if I saw anything beyond that one. In fact, the whole time I was watching this first version, I was like, when do we see the guy that has the tentacle face? And I realized after this one ended, that must have been the second or the
second one.
Movie. Okay.
How do you feel about going through the mist of tentacle face? Do they have that in Florida?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. You go through a corridor of mist, and they're projecting Davy Jones on it. So you have to like go through the mist of his tentacles, I don't like that. Maybe. I mean, it's good for the ride. I'm not saying I don't like it, like it's a bad decision for the ride. I'm saying it does creep me out, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's a good thing. That's the whole point.
It is the whole point. Exactly. Something you said a minute ago is also going to make me I was thinking about the merch. Country Bears. Yeah, I buy the merch. I flashed on last week's episode. Haunted Mansion in Tokyo, no gift shop. I wish it had one. There's no Haunted Mansion merch. Pirates, I always ride pirates, maybe twice. I never go into the gift shop. Pirate crap, who cares? For merch, you can get that in anywhere. Is that right?
It's right, although they have some very specific. They have the exact Aztec coin merch, and their pirate hats have the little built-in Johnny Depp dreads, which I think is slightly more than you'll get from just like a generic Party City Spirit of Halloween kind of thing.
Okay, I do have. Actually, I have one. A nice one is in my work locker, but it's missing a scarf. I need to get another scarf for it. So I have a pirate costume. It is clearly a knockoff Jack Sparrow costume. I got it because it was 50% off, and then Halloween was coming up.
I feel like everyone in the States, or maybe even in the West, has a reason at least one point in their life to own a pirate costume. You might not still own it now, but when you were a kid, or at some point, everyone's been a pirate for Halloween or a school play or something. I feel like that.
Well, I teach, right? So 1 week in October, I got to be rocking costumes like all week long, and they do get like increasingly bizarre. So, ignorant
question, but are there Japanese pirates in the same aesthetic and context as when we talk about pirates?
I think Johnny Depp is their pirate. So, yeah, I would say this movie is probably what they think of with pirates. Oh, I'm looking at a picture here. You probably can't see it, but I got a pirate hat. I got a Space 1999 flight suit. I got a Han Solo blaster. I've got the Cookie Monster. So that's
we'll have to take your word for it.
That's me just mixing costumes like an insane man. So, because what do you do by Friday? I'm tired of this pirate costume. I bought this costume. It's too tight in a spot. I think I told you last year it was a Tigger suit, which was too tight in the shoulders. So, you don't wear the Tigger helmet part or pullover part much. Might use it again anyway. It is nice and warm. It's getting cold, nice and warm. Pirate costume's not warm.
Speaking of pirate costumes, I do feel like it's an important thing to just bring up. The theme of pirates in general is kind of this. It's an interesting dynamic because pirate doesn't necessarily mean murderer, rapist, convict, but it kind of does too. So by kind of like cosplaying as a pirate or really liking the pirate motif, it's sort of putting criminals on a pedestal a little bit, right? Murderers and thieves and much, much worse.
But Batman's a vigilante, right? So he's kind of like he's not after his piece of eight as much because he's already rich, right? But otherwise, Batman's a pirate, kind of, right?
I don't know if I'm ready. Maybe. I don't know if I'm ready to expand my definition of pirate that far.
We can at least have Pirate Batman. That could be an Elseworlds comic. It probably is one, to be perfectly honest.
Fair point. They're good. And in this movie in particular, in the Pirates of the Caribbean Queen, by Billy Ocean and Michael Eisner,
sharing the same dream.
Sharing the same dream. That in this one, the two main pirates are altruistic, right? Johnny Depp has some altruism. He saves the girl's life at the very beginning and doesn't necessarily expect anything, even if it sort of plays into his manipulation tactics. And then Orlando Bloom, who plays Will Turner Jr., he's also kind of this bleeding heart good guy pirate. He doesn't even realize he's a pirate.
He doesn't want people to call him a pirate. Yeah. Is he a pirate? He's
too
pretty to be a pirate.
Girl is like, I love pirate bad boys. And he's like, oh, I'm definitely a pirate.
Yeah, because he got horny. That's why before that, he's too pretty to be a pirate. Someone's got to punch him. He needs to get Jared Leto'd in Fight Club first, and then he can be a pirate.
I like maybe there's a fan theory that Will Turner and Sparrow are the same person. It's just like a Edward Norton, Brad Pitt kind of thing.
Ooh, that would have been too much for this, but yeah. Oh, this is funny. Here's another Eisner quote that I'm looking at right now. It says Disney executives were confused because they didn't know if Depp were drunk or gay or both or not. So Eisner was complaining about that, saying he's ruining the film. Which both, yes, sure, why not? That's the vibe. Captain Jack Sparrow does what Captain Jack Sparrow wants. That's the vibe, right?
Well, maybe he caught wind of the crossing ritual.
Oh, okay. There, I've heard this before, but you're gonna have to say it again because, yeah, this is the equator, is it?
Yeah, the crossing ritual on the equator, and it's a fun thing to just go online and look up like 1930s crossing ritual, and just
1930s.
it dates back to the 1800s and before, I believe. I mean,
Okay.
I would assume we just don't have any photos of it prior to like
Oh,
the
you're going photo
19th
version.
century, but
Right.
so when you're crossing the equator, there's a lot of U.S. naval ships. The images that you'll see, they cross the equator, and a bunch of them dress up in drag. Some will dress up as mermaids, and they reenact these sort of maritime theatrical performances in full Rocky Horror style makeup. And after it's over, you just what happens on the equator stays at the equator, and you go back to just being a manly man again. But you go and find some of these, and you see like the captain of the freaking boat just dressed up in full drag and makeup and like lipstick and like a little brassiere with a whole mermaid costume on. And this is something that was maybe unknown until the camera was invented.
Wow, I got this whaling movie for 80% off somewhere in here. I hope where is it? There. I hope they do the crossing ritual in this 80% off movie I haven't watched. I give you an English title on the back. In the Heart of the Sea. In the Heart of the Equator. There we go. There's a sequel for that.
So yeah, fun thing to look up to. It's a crossing ritual, also known as crossing the line ceremony. And they dress up as King Neptune, who transitions from a sailor known as a pollywog, which is the uninitiated, to something called a shellback, which is the initiated. So it is a literal initiation ritual for people that have not yet crossed the equator before. They start out as this pollywog and they do this whole transition.
Yeah. The mermaids. I'm thinking of the I guess the mermaid parade in Coney Island, New York City, which I went to once, which is I guess it's July, and they just have a wild, insane display of women running around in pasties, guys running around in thongs, and that's their thing for the summer. So it felt a bit like a crossing ceremony.
They should introduce this to the Disney park version too.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Dress them Rocky Horror for I don't know, July. We cross in July. I don't know.
This is one of the oldest, still continued modern day initiation rituals that's not necessarily tied to a religion or a secret society. Pretty much anyone that's in some sort of like a maritime occupation or in an actual military, naval occupation, they'll know of this and maybe even go through this if they cross the equator, which is unique because there's not a lot of secular initiation rituals that people go through because of their profession. It's almost always opt-in because of an ideology.
Yeah, you know what? I think we have more of that sort of stuff in Japan. Like, I think one of the things in Japan is everyone's religious, but nobody's religious. If you follow what I'm saying, like it's like let's do the traditions.
We have that too, but people just say I'm spiritual, not religious, and it's kind of a way to be like, okay, next topic.
Well, one thing is keep in mind Shinto Buddhism doesn't have like a weekly service or anything, so it's like nobody like goes to temple. You go to a temple at New Year, and there it's just what you do. I mean, some people I guess are into it, and a lot of people are just doing it. But there's really no I guess we don't have things that strong, so we have lots of traditions that are kind of I guess more along those lines. Right now, Oban is taking place. That's why I have a pirate tooth and can't see the dentist today. Filling fell out for anyone that's interested last night. But everyone's doing like pretty intense ritual stuff, but very few of them are like, spiritually invested in it.
Is that why there's a spirit of a dead person floating behind you right now?
The Cookie Monster? Is the Cookie Monster dead? The Zoo Cat's dead for sure. So yes, that's why. No, this is the wrong. No, this is the wrong house because this shrine's just as normal. Right now at the family house, they have closed the family shrine. They took all the things out of the family shrine, closed it because it had doors, put it on a table, made animals out of cucumbers and eggplants by sticking pencils in them. And they're going to leave that there for 3 days while the dead relatives show up. So they're showing up to the family house, not here. You have to do the ritual, right?
And the dead family members, they want cucumbers shaped like animals. That's what they want.
Apparently, yes.
For the record, just like a do not resuscitate order, like I do not want cucumber animals after I'm dead. I want something way cooler than that.
It's very visceral, though. The family plot is only 500 meters or so away from that house. So, you can kind of visualize, okay, the ghosts are going from there to here. Oh, you burn straw out of your house, outside your house to invite them. You get a big pile of straw and you burn it. And that invites the dead spirits into your house, where you put the shrine out into the living room for 3 days. Yeah. But the point is, none of this is religious. It's just what people do. Like 3% of people are like invested in it in a religious sense of the word.
Well, and I think that there's a tie here to the movie, because the whole premise of this movie is that the pirates on the Black Pearl are under a curse and that they're already dead. So even when you see them, they're really just this ethereal form. I mean, they have a physical form, but you can't kill them because they're already dead until the curse gets lifted, and then they're not dead anymore, and then you can kill them. Do I have that logic right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And the thing that I did, I this is probably the third time I've seen this movie or so. And the thing that got, maybe fourth, the thing that got me is there's a line from Captain Barbosa where he's basically like, yeah, I've been hungry since the curse, and I just keep getting hungry and I can't eat. So that's like what? Well, I guess like, when did they leave Jack on the island the first time? 5 years earlier? Did they say that? I don't remember. So I guess they've only been cursed for a few years. But hey, even like a week of growing hunger would be pretty insane.
And yeah, I think that that's probably one of the cooler themes of this whole movie, is that some of these pirates want to die as soon as they realize that the curse has been lifted at the end. Spoiler alert. And they're actually dying. They're getting stabbed and they're bleeding from it. A few of them are like, oh, thank God. And then they die. And then some of the other ones are like, uh-oh, I can actually die for realsies now. And they kind of straighten up a little bit.
Did they say how long they had been cursed by chance? Did I miss that?
If you did, we both did.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just trying to psychologically put myself in, because if it's like 6 months, I mean, that's annoying, right? But that doesn't drive you completely insane. Maybe if it's been 5 years, you could be pretty far down insanity
I did get
row.
the impression we're talking years, because there's a few times in which a bunch of other, naval officers are talking about whether or not the Black Pearl is real. And they're talking about it like it's this legend that they've been hearing echoes of for a while. And even Jack Sparrow has a really good line in here. He's like, oh, and they said there's never been a survivor. And he's like, well, if there's no survivors, who's telling these tales? So it kind of implies that at least it's been happening long enough that the word has been able to spread around organically. And we're talking the early 1700s. So it's not like they posted it on their blog and now everyone knows about the Black Pearl. You would slowly learn about this probably over the course of, at the minimum, of a year or two. So I think it's pretty safe to say that it's.
I was about to say Batman rules might still apply, where it's like, oh, you're gonna get a show tonight, son, right? But then you're mentioning 17th, 18th century, so that would twirl things up a bit. So got you.
They didn't have the Gotham Times there.
No Gotham Times. When did newspapers have newspapers at this time? Newspapers starting, I guess, 19th century. What? Oh yeah, I should look. What exactly is the date? In the early 18th century. Okay, we're talking like 1725.
I definitely looked this up because I was also imagining that this has to happen in the same universe that Captain Hook exists. And just because there's an early scene in this movie when you see one of the admiral officers, not a pirate, and he's got the exact outfit that Captain Hook would have on. He just doesn't have the hook for a hand. And I went down a small little rabbit hole, but there was actually a book based on the movie series, which was itself based on the theme park ride. But the book was 2011, and the novel was called The Price of Freedom. It was the first Pirates of the Caribbean novel. And in this, the author mentions James, and James is a reference, and James was this pirate that never seemed to age. And the author later mentioned, James was Captain Hook. So she single-handedly made sure there's concrete connection between Pirates of the Caribbean and Captain Hook.
I was about to say Peter Pan is like around 1900. That's much later, right? But so I guess Hook has been hooking for quite some time.
He's been there since the 1800 or since the 18th century, because Captain Hook definitely does not exist in the 20th century.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, this is kind of weird blind spot in history. They don't teach you Caribbean history of the 18th century in school much. Maybe if you're going to school in Barbados, they do. I don't know, but not in my school.
I think I know why. I think because the three kind of occult connections that you can bring when it comes up with pirates is Knights Templar, Freemasons, and the Skull and Bones Secret Society. So of course the Rockefeller education system is not going to want to teach you about all these different factions.
Okay, glad I stumbled directly into that. Let's start opening that pirate box.
All right, well, I just got to point out for anyone that's watching, I'm holding up a book. If you're listening, it's called Pirates and the Lost Templar Fleet. And the subtitle is The Secret Naval War Between the Knights Templar and the Vatican by David Hatcher Childress. And this isn't necessarily the like a reference book that I think is 100% accurate that I'm always going to go back to, but it represents a very real theory that multiple people have, that pirates might be a modern day or for their time, that they were a modern evolution of the original Knights Templar. And there are some historical reasons for this. It's not pure fantasy. So that's one aspect of it. And then since you've got Templars involved, Freemasons are kind of like the pick-me's of the Templar world, at least 2 or 3 centuries into the future. And then the Skull and Bones are simply another iteration of that, but now talking about secret societies and academia and drug smuggling from China. So we'll get into all of that. I can break all this down in more detail.
The United States as a country, the first international excursion was with the Barbary pirates, basically. That was like the first actual like war as a country. And then Morocco is the first country to recognize the United States, which is kind of a weird little footnote fun fact.
That's a separate rabbit hole in itself of how countries get recognized. They get some other country in the world to recognize them, and then other people sort of buy on, the same way that I believe the whole entire Congo was recognized first by America and like the Americans in the early 20th century, I believe, or in the late 19th century, that if it weren't for America recognizing the Congo as like an independent, state, that no one else would have jumped on board. So anyways, a whole different.
Well, I mean, we're seeing it right now. Like last week, France was like, we will recognize Palestine now. And then Israel's like, we are taking Gaza. And we don't, as of this recording, we don't really know where that's going exactly. So
now I firmly believe that it's about if McDonald's or Starbucks sets up in your country and then lists your country's name on their paperwork, that's the new version of your country is now legitimate. The same way that, the IRS gets to dictate who is a religion and who isn't based on if you're tax exempt. If you get tax exemption from the IRS, then you have a real religion. And if you don't, it's just the cult. Sorry.
There we go. Well, hey, at least you got, if you're a cult or not. So plus there.
I'll break the Templar stuff down in a little more detail because I did some of the notes, as you might expect from me. So 1307 is the beginning of the downfall of the Knights Templars, when Pope Clement V basically puts out a decree that like no more. And
Friday the 13th, was it?
Friday the 13th was the last the day that Jacques de Molay got burned at the stake, I believe. And a lot of these numbers get fudged around a little bit, so it's not like we've got photo evidence of any of this. But this begins the seizing of all the Templar assets, and the Templars begin to go underground. So some of those Templars, they got advance notice, and they were like, "I'm not dying at a stake." They eventually escape by ship to Scotland and Portugal, and some to the New World. And specifically in Portugal, the Templars rebranded themselves as a new group called the Order of Christ in like 1319. And as the Order of Christ, they inherit all these naval ships and like these big fleets and all this coastal property. So now you actually have a very real Knights Templar lineage that's now living on the seas and living on the coast. And through this organization, there was a guy named Henry the Navigator, and he became one of the first Atlantic explorers in the 15th century. So now you have a direct lineage between Knights Templar to the Portuguese Order of Christ to Henry the Navigator. And then from Henry the Navigator, you get all this other maritime exploration and naval.
He's Portuguese, right?
Henry the Navigator, yeah, he comes
Okay.
out of the Portuguese Order of Christ.
Just checking what I remember from high school. Things I did teach.
So here's one of these direct lines of Knights Templar eventually make, I mean, we're talking 2 centuries, right? But over 2 centuries, they make their way into being maybe pirate adjacent. You also have this mixture of symbols. For example, the classic Jolly Roger skull and crossbones that everyone sort of correlates to pirates. That also comes from Templar symbols. It was, and talking about the Haunted Mansion in the U.S., the Haunted Mansion gift shop is called Memento Mori, I believe it is, which is like contemplate death or know that you will die. That's the name of that gift shop, and that's essentially the symbol of the skull and crossbones. It's to remind everyone that we're all equal in death. It's not, and this is if you believe the Templar progression of this symbol. So it's not like, hey, we're going to kill you. Here's a dead skull that just reminds you that this flag means death. The flag does mean death, but it means as a reflection of your own mortality, not necessarily as an outward threat to someone else seeing you.
Right. You're in that gift store, man. When last time I came on the Haunted Mansion, I just got splashed with water by Baymax. So I wanted that gift shop. Okay. I'm sitting here thinking also, specifically, I'm thinking the Hollywood version, of course, because Hollywood is programmed in my mind. But the English, I shouldn't say British, the English 16th century thing of Queen Elizabeth basically like sending out her own pirates to screw with the Spanish. So the Seahawk would be the movie covering that stuff, you know. With
we're talking, there's a very thin line between a pirate and a privateer, right?
Right.
The only difference is that the privateers got some sort of government endorsement or sponsorship, but very often a person that has been endorsed by, you know, the royals and they've given the okay to go and do piracy. As long as they're doing it under the guise of a banner, they're not a pirate. But the second that they no longer have permission or sponsorship, just immediately they're now a pirate de facto. So if you're a privateer, you're kind of constantly living with one foot on each side of that lane, right? You're always going to be on both sides of the law, because who knows if they still want to fund you tomorrow. And if they pull the funds and you keep doing what you're doing, you're now a pirate.
And the weird thing with the Seahawk, it came out in, I guess, 1940 or so, and they did a reshoot to give a propaganda speech at the end because England had just, you know, gone into World War II. So they're kind of like, let's do it again for the glory of England, you know?
So there's also one other symbol is the Templar cross. You'll see this also in some sort of pirate flags and old symbolism. There's a whole, actually, in this book, which won't be as exciting if I like read out and describe what I'm seeing, but they've got a whole list of different flags, and they show like, here's the pirate flag, and here's a Templar or a Freemasonic version that it's based on. And there's a couple different good correlations in there that makes you think twice. And it leads directly into this Freemasonic connection, because in addition to being able to own a ship or have the connections to get someone to sponsor you and put you on that ship, a lot of that time that fell into these like Freemasonic, these Freemasonic memberships that would even give you the connection to that. And there's some specific credible cases. So I've got Captain William Kidd. This is mid 17th century to early 18th century. And Masonic historians do claim that he joined a Masonic lodge in Scotland before he took to the seas. Stede Bonnet, which is a fairly famous pirate. He was the gentleman pirate, also one of the main characters in Our Flag Means Death. I think that's the name of it, which was one of those YTK TV shows. Have you seen the Our Flag Means Death?
No. I until you got to the director's name, I was mostly zoning out a bit.
Highly recommend that show. Not everyone loves it, but it features Steve Bonnet as one of the main characters in there. He was most likely a Freemason. A guy named Woods Roger, who was also mid 17th to early 18th century. He was a member of a Masonic lodge in England. There was a guy named William Morgan, which is not the same William Morgan that was the anti-Mason of the 20th century, but this guy was a privateer in the Caribbean, and he also was inducted into an English lodge. So you've got this long list of confirmed Freemasonic pirates that go out into the world. So I think that it adds more credibility to the Templar link.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, because you're saying the difference between a privateer and a pirate is, does the government support you? You have to have someone's support to do such a large scale operation, right? So obviously, if you don't have the government support, you're going to have somebody's support. So why not the Templars?
Well, William Morgan, as an example of one of these, that even though he technically was a privateer, his ships would often go, quote, rogue. And like, oh, I don't know where it went, or oh, we didn't realize that we weren't supposed to go into these waters and pillage, this area. So it was just like Monday through Friday were privateers, and then Saturday, Sunday were pirates. So
yeah, if you're already doing three things, quote unquote, wrong, what's another two? Right. As you're talking, the imagery that keeps popping in my mind is actually not Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm wondering if you think this is a better representation of the vibe, which is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Everything you're saying, I keep seeing images from that movie, not the movie I watched last night. I feel like that one maybe is harder hitting in these kind of terms. Doesn't have the pirate stuff, of course. That's all here, but
I think our flag means death. That's where my head goes on all of this, because I think that was
mine's going Last Crusade.
Pieces.
Yeah, yes, Last Crusade, better movie. Yes, okay.
And then finally, the last, maybe the most strained connection, but there's enough here to sink your teeth into, I think. And that's the Yale Skull and Bones Secret Society. And you're probably thinking, or if not, you should be, but the Yale Skull and Bones Society is way after the 17th and 18th century. This is the 1830s, 1840s, right? So we're talking mid 19th century at this point. How could that have anything to do with pirates? Well,
do they all jizz over people in a coffin or something?
Well, that's part of the initiation ritual and the
crossing ritual,
obscene rite where they eat a pineal gland and they're naked in a coffin. And but okay, so the connection here is that Skull and Bones was founded essentially by William Huntington Russell. William Huntington Russell came from the lineage of the Russell and Company, and the Russell and Company was this trading firm that in like the mid 1800s that they were exclusively involved in smuggling opium from Turkey and India into China. So they were all those opium dens that, the Chinese were starting to become known for. A lot of that came from George Bush's ancestors smuggling Moroccan and Turkish, heroin into China. So they get all this money in the 1800s. They make all this money, and then they like, okay, now how do we spend all this money? And one of those endeavors is essentially academia, the U.S. academia as a whole, but specifically Yale, and then within Yale, the Skull and Bones. And the original spelling, if you look back at old founding documents of the Skull and Bones, it's not spelt Skull, it's spelt Scull. And that skull is actually a reference for a boat. So some of the claims, and a lot of this comes from Anthony Sutton, who wrote Fleshing Out the Skull and Bones. I think that's the name of it. A lot of this comes from his research, but his claim is that the original spelling of Skull and Bones is a direct reference and an homage to the fact that they got their starts in piracy. They got their starts in international drug smuggling on international waters, and sort of like this rogue maritime law dynamic, and that's essentially the heart of all academia, and therefore everything we've got in America now. It comes from piracy.
We're all pirates, yay!
Well, there you go. That's the goal that I want you to walk away with, thinking that we're all kind of, and we kind of are pirates.
How did we watch this movie? To
Well,
be
we
fair,
survived.
the DVD is over there, but I didn't watch the DVD.
Did you pirate it?
Piracy. It's piracy. Well, okay. Technically, if I have it and then I download a backup copy, is that pirate? But that's the gray line. Now I'm just a buccaneer, right? I'm a privateer. I'm a privateer. So technically, I have the law behind me, but I did the same thing a pirate does, right? So last week for the Country Bears, let's not talk about that one.
I think there was a scene in Country Bears with a checkerboard floor. I'm just going to leave that out there. So I don't know. Maybe that was also a Masonic ritual.
One other one with Templars. I don't know about Masons. Well, it's all tied together with Templars and pirates. Have you watched Goonies recently? That's one. It's not a Disney.
A couple years ago. I feel like every few years I have to rewatch Goonies just because it's the DNA. It's one of the best coming of age tales I've ever seen growing up. So anytime I go to write a new short story that's like a coming of age, like, man, now I got to watch Stand By Me and Goonies all over again.
As well, say I would go for Stand By Me, but I guess they live
Stand By
together.
Me, Goonies, and North, the best coming of age movies ever created, hands down.
Oh, North. Okay, that's one. I haven't seen it. Two, it has a terrible reputation, but I would be willing to watch it.
I say it half in jest, but also I remember that movie always being on the Disney Channel growing up. So
is that one Ed O'Neill?
That one has so many people in it. There's like 20 or 30 known actors in that one. I believe it's essentially Woody Harrelson and Frodo. I can't remember.
Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
who I still mix up with Tobey Maguire.
Kelsey Grammer's in it. I mean, we could just spend the next hour just talking about the people that are in North.
It's a hard movie to look up. Oh, Bruce Willis. Okay, he's there. I'm just looking.
That's what I meant. Bruce Willis.
Rob Reiner. Okay, I knew someone notable had directed it, and I wanted to. I had to scratch that itch on my brain. This is a good thing. I haven't looked much at the notes that I made, which is actually a good sign. But curious. When you were on the ride recently, where does it stop? Because the boats get backed up. Where'd you get stopped?
Just at the very end.
What was happening?
At the very end, it takes like maybe 3 boats worth to kind of unclog and get off. But
yeah,
it kind of happens at the tail end of the ride that you realize that the ride has ended. It doesn't happen unexpectedly.
Okay, because the last 2 times I got stuck for like 5 minutes right where the 2 pirates are shooting over your heads, which I think was intentional. But if the boat's got to stop,
cool, actually.
Yeah, and both times it's because the guy is pointing a gun at you,
It's one of those
at you, and then it goes up a little more, and then it shoots. Shoots.
That's another thing that tends to be my favorite is when Disney and gun culture collide, and this is one of the few remaining themes in which Disney feels okay showing you guns. Right? If it's a pirate with a gun or a pirate with a huge knife implying death. And I realize this one's not necessarily a Disney movie, right? But it is. It's a Disney movie.
It is. I mean, it's in the park.
And it has people getting stabbed to death, people losing eyeballs, people getting shot, blood coming out of them after they get shot, dying, drowning. Like there's everything that normally you don't see in a Disney movie. You see it all in here, and they lean all the way into it. And I think for that reason, it just makes it a little bit novel. Like it's more interesting because it's Disney violence and death and murder.
I mean, I guess this is just the moment where Eisner, in particular, loses the plot because he's like, here's California Adventure, which is crappy. Not pirates. That's not good. I'll try and stop this movie. It seems like the movie happened despite him and then becomes like Disney's biggest live action hit of the decade,
And then you got to look like an idiot around everyone because they know you're the guy that was trying to squash the cash cow.
Exactly. And 2 years later, they had a board meeting where they probably had that exact conversation. So
here's a question for you. Is Elizabeth Swann, played by Keira Knightley in this movie, is she a Disney princess?
Oh, okay. I just kept thinking that she's the fake Queen Amidala, but in Phantom Menace. But
so in this one, I mean, she's technically she's not a princess, but she's the queen of a governor. And I feel that we're now transitioning out of feudalism and out of straight monarchies. So now the daughter of a governor feels like it's on par to say like a princess in some faraway land.
The vibe I got though was very rich girl. I think that's what they were pushing. I think the point you're making,
but they kidnap the rich girl in order to have some sort of a political outcome, right? They want to have like policy change based on them kidnapping, which feels like the same thing that you would kidnap a princess is to get the king to change something about his kingdom or to give you his daughter's hand in marriage. And that again is another motif in this movie that she gets kidnapped and there's an element of marriage, although the marriage is supposed to be to the statesman that wants to marry her, but that's his incentive to save her. But it very much like she's clearly the damsel in distress, and I would stretch it to mean that she's also a Disney princess.
Yeah, no, I think on paper it works. As far as like when they were making this movie, was that their intention? I get more of a rich girl vibe, but no, you write it out on paper. She is a princess. Sure, why not?
Well, okay, so you've got Elizabeth Swann is a Disney princess. We have canon story that shows that Pirates of the Caribbean and Captain Hook coexist in the same universe. So there's two connections to it. We also have this isn't Disney, but there's like this Count of Monte Cristo vibe to the very beginning too, where the Elizabeth Swann is being courted by the rich guy, but the poor guy also wants her, and they might have like an actual love. And then he gets wronged by the rich guy and then ends up spending the rest of the movie trying to go after the girl despite I mean, it's essentially the story of Count of Monte Cristo, except we just have Elizabeth Swann playing the count, essentially.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a thought bouncing through my brain and I lost it. So I'm just going to read a note. I actually want to bop back a bit to where you were talking about how this movie didn't have much of a trail. Like there weren't a bunch of other pirate movies. We did get Master and Commander a year before, which was a notable hit that I love. I feel like people have somewhat forgotten about.
I don't know if I count that as a pirate movie.
It's not pirates. I'm talking wooden ships, you know?
Yeah, it's a great naval movie, yeah. But I don't think it's pirate specific. And I'm talking about like the zombie movie craze for decades. You just had a movie and it didn't even need a plot. Oh, there's zombies in it? I'm in. How many TV shows do we have? How many different variations of just Walking Dead alone, aside from all the other? And it's just weird that we've never had that level of pirate enthusiasm. It has to just be budget oriented, I would assume.
No, new Star Trek episode a few weeks ago, they have zombies. And at one point they're like, what do we call them? And they do fourth wall and they're zombies. Let's call them zombies. Okay, they're zombies. There's a sci-fi explanation why they're not zombies, but they're zombies, so we're going to call them zombies, which I appreciate. That's not, they don't have to be day runners or something, you know.
I guess another question. Technically, isn't Pirates of the Caribbean a zombie movie?
Yeah, but a zombie suggests a lack of mind, which does fit in the Caribbean. There's the whole like Haitian, zombie thing where it's like your mind is being replaced or something. It's a little different, right? Where in here, their minds are intact. So it's just the body is cursed, which I think is a delineation that we do have to make from a zombie.
Maybe, although if you go by 28 years later, now you've got alpha zombies and you've got zombies capable of higher orders of thinking and organization. So,
but they still underwent a change, right? They're not like the person they were in the past. These pirates are the people they were before they were cursed, right?
Yeah, that's fair point. That's fair point.
There's no because an alpha zombie is like a 28-year evolution from whatever. What do they call it? Rage? I don't remember what it is in there, but sure. Rage is maybe Resident Evil. I don't know. Yeah. Zombie movies do get a little samey. I mean, if you can make a good zombie movie, you've done good, but it is hard to make a good zombie movie.
Fido. If you haven't seen Fido, highly recommend it.
Okay. I've heard the title bandied about. So I think I might have derailed something you were on because I lost my train of thought. But
the only other thing, I was just making connections between Pirates of the Caribbean and other Disney properties, and the last one that I had is just that Orlando Bloom's character in here just looked almost identical to Ichabod Crane in the cartoon. At least the outfit and the hairstyle maybe not the build, but everything else about that, it just felt like they based some of the characters in this movie on actual Disney animated characters from their library. And I feel like that wouldn't be a stretch to assume that that had come up in the original planning.
Well, it's what's kind of funny is Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley are technically the leads of the movie, with Captain Jack Sparrow as the main supporting role, which is not how it plays. I mean, I feel like in the original script they probably were just straight up the leads, right? But then you got to have a pirate as the lead. I don't know. I was very like watching it last night, since I'd seen the movie before and I didn't have thinking about plot. I was really sitting here thinking about, this is a very confusing version of the Hollywood formula, which doesn't kill the movie at all, but it is like, who's the lead in this?
I think the lead is clearly Keira Knightley. It's Elizabeth Swann. She's the lead. Orlando Bloom is maybe the second lead, and like you said, Johnny Depp, he's the supporting character, the same way that Bambi is maybe the lead and Thumper's the supporting character. Because if you were to apply the whole Disney proxy, if Keira Knightley is the princess that gets kidnapped, which she kind of is, then she becomes that Disney proxy. And then the person that saves her first is Johnny Depp. And lo and behold, Johnny Depp becomes the face of all the merch and all the toys and lunchboxes and all the crap that Disney sells you. It is the guy that saved her originally, right? She falls off of the top of some wall into the water. Johnny Depp sees it and immediately he goes and rescues her. So he becomes that sidekick character for the Disney proxy.
Now, that's a 100% version of that, but I am having the thought here, is she too old for the Disney proxy? Is there an age that you cross where the Disney proxy is?
Well, we talked Mulan. Mulan was old enough that she had enough agency that she wasn't running away. She was just going off to work, essentially. So she kind of fits outside that mold of Disney proxy. However, she had agency and she left under her own will. In this case, we do get a pampered rich girl kidnapped. So I don't know, maybe if she's like a mental midget, then she fits into the Disney proxy.
But then she drinks a bunch of rum with Johnny Depp. So obviously if she was under 18, they definitely can't put that in the movie. Then she destroys the rest of the rum the next day. What the hell's up with that? I don't get that. Okay. She had fun. They had fun. What's she doing?
So
you're stuck on an island. Might as well drink yourself to death.
She's supposed to take place when she's 20. However, Keira Knightley was 17 when they filmed. So
seriously? That's insane. Yeah. Okay, so the actress is actually the wrong age and the character is the right age? So
correct.
In the Phantom Menace, she must have been what, 15 or less? That's wild. Okay. Sorry, just having thoughts there.
So I don't know. I mean, it's messy, but I feel like on paper she does fit all of the check boxes for this being a typical.
Yeah, it's
Disney
like once you mention
formula.
the actress being that age, I'm like, well, gee, does that mean that it actually does work? And they had her drink a bunch of rum. Question was on my mind. Sorry, all of my thoughts are just escaping me today. It must be the intense heat. 34 degrees, which is 100, I think. Yeah. Brain melting, just like in the Caribbean, man.
Well, I've got some other Masonic ties on here, some other Masonic notes.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's a few different phrases that come up in this. One of them is Johnny Depp implying like, okay, we're square now. So obviously that usage of that phrase of that we're square is that we're standing on a square. It's very Masonic. It's very much like we're level. And in fact, right after that we're square, in one of the next scenes, it's Johnny Depp fighting off with Will Turner, Orlando Bloom, and they're actually sword fighting on a level. So now you've got these two different gentlemen privateers that are fighting on the level, which was another like very heavy Masonic symbol, I believe.
Yeah, again, Captain Jack Sparrow cannot do this without some kind of backing. You can be funny and quirky and weird, but someone has to have your back financially if you're doing all this, you know? Like luck goes a fair amount, but you also need a bit of backing if you're going to rock that. You know, Keith Richards knows that too, doesn't he?
The other main one, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like it's worth pointing out is that Will Turner's job in this, he doesn't realize he comes from pirate blood. And even though like deep down he really is a pirate, but he doesn't realize that throughout most of the movie. And his actual job is a blacksmith or an artificer. And if you look at the original story of the Masonic Hiram Abiff, he has been linked and denied, but also linked to Hiram of Tyre. And Hiram of Tyre was also known as one of the first blacksmiths or one of the first artificers. So here you kind of have Will Turner acting as Hiram Abiff. And Hiram Abiff's story was that he had this knowledge, and this movie maybe represented by the golden medallion or his like royal blood that the pirates need to spill, but that Hiram Abiff had this secret knowledge that the ruffians, which I think is an equivalent to a pirate, that the pirates wanted, and since he wouldn't give it up to them, they basically try to beat it out of him, and they end up killing him in the process. And that's sort of the role of Will Turner / Orlando Bloom in this movie, is that he's got some kind of ancient bloodline knowledge, and they have to spill his blood in order to uncover it and then break this curse that they're all under. So him being an actual blacksmith and fighting on the level with Johnny Depp and having this reference to like we're square right now, it was just like Masonic reference after Masonic reference.
We didn't watch sequels for this, and we haven't watched the sequels, but I am sitting here wondering if what we get here gets watered down as we get through the sequels or detailed. Main point, Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, technically the leads of this, they kind of have to shoehorn them into the next two movies, and then 4 and 5, they don't even bother hiring those actors, you know?
Yeah, we don't even need them. We got Johnny Depp. And
we got Johnny Depp, yeah. Let's see who's in the most recent one, which is 2017 now. So I guess it's not that recent because Johnny Depp is still in the doghouse, I guess. I don't know. Javier Bardem, Jeffrey Rush is back. Okay. And then people whose names I don't recognize. So yeah.
And I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know that there was a Bambi 2 movie. I think it was a direct to video.
Straight to video. That's why we didn't cover it. But yeah.
I think that Thumper gets like top billing on the cover of that movie. So you can continue a franchise, but then make the sidekick the face of that franchise going forward, which is kind of what happens with pirates. Yeah,
I think people went opening night and were like starring Johnny Depp. Like no one ever really fell for those other two people or the leads, even if the script is structured that way. I feel like that probably happened in production, right? Like if you did have Christopher Walken, Captain Jack, he would have done a great job, but Captain Jack Sparrow is fully now a supporting character, right? But this insane, weird Johnny Depp performance just makes him the star.
So just to prove my point a little bit, there was a Bambi and Bambi 2 DVD release, and on the cover of that combination Bambi 1 and 2, Thumper is actually in the foreground and takes up majority of the cover, and Bambi is in the background behind Thumper. So the Bambi 1 and Bambi 2 is kind of analogous to Pirates of the Caribbean and Johnny Depp.
I think you've already had two of the more entertaining rants we've had on this podcast today. Do you have any more rants preloaded before we start docking the show?
Let me see. Just a couple other smaller ones. One is that I really like some of the direct references to the rides. For example, when Johnny Depp gets locked up and they're trying to get the keys from the dog, that comes directly out of the ride itself.
Oh yeah, there's definitely ride stuff here, which, you know, Mission to Mars thing at Country Bears you can't really do, and then they changed everything in Country Bears, so this one does throw, and then the ride, you know, does a little bit to feel more like the movie, not too much, but a little bit.
I think I have 3 other rants in me. I can keep them somewhat short. So one of them is there's a note in here about you're off the edge of the map, mate. That was like one of the thing he was calling someone else crazy, and I was like, off the edge of the map, is that implied pirates did not believe in flat Earth, and then I went down this whole tangent of like, were there any pirates that believed in flat Earth? I don't think so. I think
I
that
don't think you could be seafaring in the 18th century
correct.
and think
Yeah,
the Earth
well,
is flat.
so any sort of seafaring that involves celestial navigation was all built on the premise that the world was spherical and that
Pirates are married to the ball, man.
Right. I just there's a whole tangent here that we don't have to go down. But yeah, pirates were fully sold on the lie of a spherical Earth, and they weren't smart enough to know they could have accidentally sailed off the edge.
Aye, the ball is me mate.
Let's see. The other one that I had in here was a full rant that I won't go on about maritime law, but this was one of my introductions to conspiracy theory lore, was Jordan Maxwell breaking down maritime law. Are you familiar with Jordan Maxwell and maritime law at all?
Yeah, I've had a dalliance with these sometime in the past. Just
okay,
so what goes in the sea stays in the sea with the
right.
seamen.
And so like I guess one of my favorite versions of maritime law, and he's got like 4-hour lectures you can go down, but one of the things that he talks about is how when a ship comes to shore, they have to go through a birth canal, and after they go through the birth canal, they get birthed and they dock to shore, and then they have to have a birth certificate. And a birth certificate represents the commercial goods that are on that boat that you are now unloading into this new country, and that new country has some sort of an authority over those goods. And he relates this to the actual birthing process of a human, that when a baby goes through the birth canal and you have to produce a birth certificate in a hospital or for government registration, it's the exact same thing. It's that your mom was literally just a boat, and she delivered these government goods, this commercial output into a new market, and it has to say like, Matt is now a commercial good that exists in this market, and here's the birth certificate to show that. And that all of that is based on maritime law, because all of the phrasing is based on maritime law.
Yeah, isn't it like if I write my name in like all caps, I'm doing like my corporate name under maritime? What if I spell it like I usually do with lowercase? It's like, that's nothing.
You're 100% right. And this also, interestingly enough, that I think Jordan Maxwell and his breakdown of maritime law directly intersects with sovereign citizen logic, where now it's like, okay, we're going to take these rules that, if I use a special word, and there is a part of that in this movie, and that's that if you get kidnapped by pirates, if you say parley, then that means the pirates are not allowed to harm you, and then you have to go and talk to the captain of the ship, and you can actually negotiate your release or something, and they all abide by these like unwritten rules, essentially. And that's kind of this premise of maritime law and sovereign citizen law, that if you get pulled over, for example, and they're like, do you know how fast you were driving? And you're like, I wasn't driving, I was traveling, and I'm not conducting business, so therefore this is like not a vehicle, or I don't know all the keywords, but the premise is like, if you drop the right secret passwords on the cop's like, you got me, you're clearly traveling and not driving, so we'll get you next time, bud. And I guess that whole parlay thing represents that in this movie.
So everyone, keep that in mind in case you ever get Captain Phillips'd.
Right, I'm not sailing, I'm traveling.
Tom Hanks should have tried that, which I guess he didn't. I don't know. I didn't watch that movie. I don't know.
And then I guess my last major note is that this is maybe the second Disney movie we've seen that has a direct reference to blood sacrifice. They quite literally say, there's a scene where he says, who of us have paid a blood sacrifice to the heathen gods? And all the pirates cheer. And they're like, and who hasn't? And they all like point at either Orlando Bloom, or I think they point at Elizabeth Swann, because they realize that they need one other blood sacrifice or one other blood ritual in order to break this curse. And the only other Disney movie that we've seen to this point that makes a direct reference to a blood sacrifice or a ritual to pagan gods, I believe, was The Wild. And that was at the very end, where they meet up with the wildebeest, and the wildebeest think that they run the show and not the lions, and they also are participating in these blood sacrifice rituals.
And I have to keep bringing up Watcher in the Woods.
And Watcher in the Woods. That one, I still just don't consider that one as a movie.
It just felt so ceremonial in that segment, which is the only part I remember. Okay, I gathered 3 of my thoughts together. You asked about did the movie feel long? I found a note that says at an hour 45, I will declare this movie too long. So that was my breaking point.
Okay, fair point.
It was past midnight too. I just had a thought about like with the moon. I was thinking werewolf logic. Very cool effect that moonlight makes some skeletons, full moonlight. But I don't think that goes anywhere. I think it's just a general thing. Also, I brought up Phantom Menace a few times. I am curious where you are on Star Wars prequels.
I mean, this has made me the least popular person in the room at a lot of the software companies I've worked at over my life, but I just hated the original Star Wars. And as soon as I saw the racing George Lucas one from the 2000s or the like 99, that was the first time that I saw a Star Wars movie. And I was like, okay, that one was pretty good. And then I found out immediately that I was wrong for that and that it was the worst Star Wars movie to ever come out. I distinctly remember as a child watching the very first one, which was part 4, I think.
Yeah.
I distinctly remembering that and being like, this isn't as good as Spaceballs. That was my thought every time it came on. And maybe I was just spoiled by seeing Spaceballs first, and then I saw the original Star Wars.
Yeah, I need to rewatch Spaceballs. My point is, I tried to rewatch The Phantom Menace a few months ago, and I gave up halfway in. So,
and Phantom Menace is the one I'm talking about, right? That's the 90.
That's the pod racing. Yeah. Jar Jar's in there.
Right? I mean, that's probably my favorite Star Wars movie.
And it's not Jar Jar. It is the kid that drives me up the wall. I can live with a little Jar Jar. Like I don't like Jar Jar, but that's not what kills the movie. It's little Annie that just, and then Big Annie they didn't do so well with either. So I don't know.
It didn't really bother me either way, honestly.
I guess we have to talk a little Star Wars because Disney bought it, right? So now it is in the wheelhouse, you know.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna have to do Star Wars at some point. I think it's gonna have to come after we go back and do Pete's Dragon and the Unassuming Dragon, right?
Reluctant Dragon.
The reluctant, whatever. The something dragon.
And the CIA sends Walt Disney to South America movies. We have those.
Yeah,
as well.
the Three Amigos or whatever the hell that one was called.
Ooh, Three Amigos. That's not it, but that's a good movie. Three Caballeros.
That's right.
But I do love the Three Amigos. Yeah. There's another one I need to rewatch. I remember I haven't seen that movie in so long because when it was on DVD, it was only full frame. And I was such a snob. I was like, no, I can't watch it if it's not in widescreen. But now I'm like, I robbed myself of at least 1 or 2 viewings of the Three Amigos. So I'm so wildly off topic now. Does that mean we're finished?
I think so. I think we're ready to chart the course back home.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking through my notes. All I have is stuff like Orlando shut the F up. I guess he was talking too much at that point. I was distracted at one point by myself mixing a scotch and soda. So I don't know if scotch is the right thing for a pirate movie, but that's what happened last night.
There was one line in this movie that I wrote down and I didn't get what the punchline was. Like, I feel like I might be able to guess, but Johnny Depp says to one of these pirates and at the very beginning of the movie, and it might have been one of the admirals and not the pirates, and he says, clearly you've never been to Singapore. And they were talking about women, I think, was part of the joke. I'm sure that the punchline is sex somehow, but I didn't get what the whole like clearly you've never been to Singapore joke was specifically about.
It cued Tom Waits' song Singapore in my head.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, he says Singapore. I started here with tail to night for Singapore.
So I think the joke is that Jack Sparrow makes use of prostitutes and he knows what.
Oh, he's got several STDs. His blood is quite infected with something. Not a curse, a different kind of curse.
Is that the first Disney prostitute joke, direct prostitute joke, or there had to be another one before now that we do you count the Rescuers one? Yeah. I don't know, man. Are you talking about the image, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about the image.
No, I don't think the image counts. No.
Okay. Oh, and I am just knowing here. Okay, my last note is it's a good movie. I was just predisposed to be a bit bored today because I was like, I'm going to play guitar after this, and then I proceeded to go over and set things up and fall asleep, and then I woke up, and now we're doing this podcast. So still haven't.
I don't know.
played
This
those things.
one hits so many occult Disney notes for me. It's got Templar links. It's got Freemasonic links. It's got the proxy in an interesting and new way. It has the use of guns, drugs, violence, blood, and death. It has literal blood sacrifice that they reference. They talk about flat Earth, even if it's as like a downplay to it. They talk about so many different occult topics that are baked into this. The maritime law aspect, the East India Trading Company comes up, and that's sort of a direct lineage to the whole Russell Company.
I think the sequels do rock that a bit more as we go on. Again, I saw the 2 and 3 like in the theater and not since, and I didn't see 4 and 5. But I do feel like we get a little more like trading company vibes, and we hang out, in that part of the ocean.
I mean, this is where Western academia comes from. It comes from international drug smuggling in the East.
No, I mean today I'm not coming at you with the like. Oh, I mean, I did say are we wrapping up once, but I'm like, you got 5 more things, don't you, on this movie, don't you? Because it's clear, right?
We'll save them. We'll save them for the next ones that we end up. Because I do think as I'm watching this, I remember thinking like there is as much CGI animation in this as there are in some of the earlier Disney 3D movies that we saw. So I mean, in terms of budget, at least this versus, I don't know, like Dinosaurs.
Treasure Planet came out the same year, and it's like 3 shades removed from this movie. That one a wild failure, this one a massive success. Very weird.
They didn't have cool pirates. They had freaking robot pirates, which takes that away. I'm not afraid that a robot pirate is gonna do ungodly things to like me and my friends, right? They might kill you, they might laser you to death, but you're not thinking that they're gonna do pirate stuff to you.
What kind of lice does Captain Jack Sparrow have? He probably has 5 different kinds of lice on him,
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, they're like Pokemon to him. He collects them all.
He's a lice zoo. So, yeah, this is definitely a movie you don't want to think about, like, what does everything smell like, I mean, not on set, I mean, in the reality of the movie. I mean, Jack Sparrow's got a reek like funk, Everybody think hard about what Jack Sparrow looks like. You can do that. Smells like. Not looks like. You think we're gonna get another Pirates movie? Can Johnny? Because age doesn't matter. It's just reputation now, isn't it?
Well,
Does anyone want another Pirates movie?
I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the whole that whole dynamic, but Disney basically dropped him from the roster publicly during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial stuff. And now I think as of this year, maybe it was late last year, 2024, but they basically publicly apologized as much as you can expect the corporation of Disney to apologize. And they kind of have left the door open to saying like, hey, we're ready to welcome you back into the Pirates franchise, because prior to that, he was kind of scorned. He was like anti-Disney for a moment because they were so quick to drop him.
Yeah, it looks like he hasn't been in like a proper full-length movie since 2020, and I don't recognize these titles. A Fantastic Beast, I guess, was his last big one, which is 2018. I do remember with all the publicity and stuff, it was a situation where it's like, it seems like both of these people suck, right? With him and Amber. It's like, it sounds like they're both terrible, so, whatever. I'm looking at his years.
Passing in the night.
Okay, he's big enough that years active are 1984 to present. There's no gap. I've just noticed with some people, especially I remember Army Hammer. It's like years active, like 1995 or whatever, to, 2022, 2023 to present. It's like, no, there's that little gap in there where he wasn't a person anymore. Yeah, what happened there? But it's okay again. So it is. I am curious. Yeah.
I think that they could bring him back for a new version, and you wouldn't even notice that there was a gap.
They have to praise him, give him a reward for screwing up Universal's or Warner's Fantastic Beast franchise, right? Epic Universe, they open up Fantastic Beast Land, which people like, but nobody likes the property, right? They just like the cool ride, I guess. I don't know.
That's a rough franchise, man. The whole Harry Potter J.K. Rowling tainted stuff is I don't know, a little. It's a money making hot potato.
Yeah, and Fantastic Beasts also just I've only seen like the first one, and it was boring.
Yeah, no, it sucked. It seriously sucked.
And you went to Epic Universe, right? Did you make it? It's Fantastic Beast Land there now, isn't it? Like, didn't they kind of go all in on that?
I don't remember a Fantastic Beast Land. I mean, there was a Harry Potter
Yeah.
version.
Okay, it was
the
for
world.
Harry Potter. I mean, I haven't been there, so but I think the ride's Ministry of Magic, and I feel like there's a fair amount of Fantastic Beast stuff cooked in there, but I haven't been, and it was too busy when you went, probably.
It was to date the most overhyped and longest wait I've ever spent on any ride ever in my 40 years of being alive. So it was the biggest letdown of any ride so far.
Oh, you made it onto the ride. Okay.
We made it onto the ride, and it was so short and so under the wait and the line leading up to the ride is better than the ride itself. And I don't mean that to compliment the wait. I just mean that to sort of, disparage the ride itself.
Yeah. No, I've heard a similar thing. And then the line is like the longest freaking one ever. People like post to social media like, I'm here. How much farther do I have? It's like, wait 4 hours,
No kidding. I think that was a 5-hour wait, everything involved with that one particular ride. And the ride itself was 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
No, my ride disappointment is I keep going to Disney Sea and getting a pass for their new rides, and then they break before the end of the day. So I still haven't been on 2 of their big rides.
I would love another pirate-themed ride. The only one is Pirates of the Caribbean, and then that freaking pirate ship that you go on carnivals that like flips all the way upside down.
Yeah. It didn't go upside down, but when my daughter was about 10, they at the nearby amusement park, it was just like buy a ticket day, because usually you have to buy a ticket for each ride, but it's like free ticket, and she rode it 32 times in a row, and I rode it 22 of those times. 10 times I missed because I went to go get lunch, but yeah, she rode the pirate ship 32 times in a row, which is mildly amusing.
So, did you go to Disney Quest in the late 90s, early 2000s and do the pirate game?
Yeah, but I was really, 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 really stoned.
Okay. It wasn't the best thing ever. You can go on YouTube and search for Pirates of the Caribbean. It was called Battle for Buccaneer Gold. That was the full name of the ride.
Yeah, we did it, but we didn't go. I don't remember Disney Quest that well, but I had a great time. Let's like the 1960s.
I went there, and it was already 10 plus years dated by the time that I went onto it. But it was interesting because they put you into this on top of this like mock pirate ship, and there's screens all around you, and then on the screens they've got these pirate ships that are going by, and you have like a little cannon that's in front of you, and you pull like a string, and when you pull the string, the cannon shoots off a fireball. So it kind of turns into a video game where you're trying to sink all these ships coming at you. It sounds so much cooler than it is, but it was also just interesting because I don't think it exists anymore. I mean, yeah, Disney Quest is completely
Disney Quest gone. So. Yeah. No, I do. Now you mentioned it's ringing a bell. The thing I remember is the Aladdin way super primordial VR thing, which gives 80% of people headaches, including myself. So
this was one step above that, only because you didn't really get a headache, because instead of a VR, it was just a bunch of screens around you, but it was very much the same level of like a detail. Like the 3D models looked basically the same.
Well, Disney Sea does have some pirate stuff. They have built the Peter Pan pirate ship, similar to like Disneyland used to have. I think they had a tuna restaurant in there, and now it's just a pirate ship you can go on and plunk around on. Right, it's in Peter Pan land. And I mentioned it's called the Leonardo Challenge, that's more Italian Renaissance theme, but it's pirate adjacent, right? They do have a ship in front of it where they built like a kind of Renaissance looking structure and a ship next to it, and you just kind of explore around. There's like an old school model of the solar system and a really expensive restaurant and that sort of stuff. So
I do think we need more pirate rides, because it's Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a dark ride, not a ride. And then you've got the sort of county fair pirate ship that flips
Yeah, I was
around.
gonna say not Disney. They don't have that at Disney. Yeah.
There's one at Legoland that has like a pirate themed ride, and then Six Flags. Six Flags has two. One of them is the Spelunker Cave, and then there's another one called High Seas. And I think that's it, man. There's really no
Has Universal had anything piratey?
I don't think so.
Islands of Adventure, maybe. Yeah, I haven't been to Islands of Adventure, so I don't know. But yeah, more pirate rides. I don't know. Do these movies are successful, but otherwise, is pirates really like the you know, is it a fallow field? You know, I don't know if people are that into pirates, especially now these movies are 20 years old.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've always been into pirates. I might be biased. Growing up, my mom has always been obsessed with pirates, so she's always had pirate books and would always point out like little historical areas where there were like pirate coves and stuff. So I've always been fully on with pirates. But again, like almost everyone has at least gone as a pirate for Halloween or something at some point in their lives. So I don't know. It feels like a cooler motif than other things that catch on.
I've always gravitated, I guess movie wise, I've always, like I said, Master and Commander, you know, Captain Horatio Hornblower. I've always gravitated a little bit more to the British Navy ones, probably because they feel more like Star Trek, you know? You got the command structure like you would on Star Trek, whereas pirates are just, you know, angry people shouting at each other.
I do think that it's pretty interesting, a whole nother rabbit hole for another episode, but the pirate accent, "Arr, matey," you know,
comes from the movies, yeah.
But also Scotland, and there's that Templar connection all over again. It makes sense that how the hell did this Scottish accent make its way into like all of these pirate accents when pirates were from all over the place, right? There's not like a pirate land that they all came from that they would all sound the same. So it really is a Scottish accent, I believe, that we hear in movies.
I'm doing a quick. Where's the pirate? I didn't even have to type the whole thing. Largely based on the West Country accent of actor Robert Newton. Disney movie, Treasure Island. He's Long John Silver is being put as the source of our modern pirate accent. Because pirates would have, you know, 5 different. Even if the Templars are running the ship, you got other people on there, and you're going to have like 10 different accents. You know. We had Aussies visiting us this past weekend. I was just sitting there thinking, we're having a conversation at dinner. It's like, well, there's an American accent, there's an Australian accent, there's a Japanese accent, and then his wife is Filipina, so there's a Filipina accent. I'm like, there's like 5 different accents in this conversation. This is insane.
So Captain William Kidd was born in Scotland, and he's one of the most well-known Scottish pirates. But yeah, the guy that you're talking about, Robert Newton, he grew up in Cornwall, so we kind of get a Cornwall accent from him in that movie.
Yeah. I'm not pushing against your idea that piracies and Templars are related. I'm just pushing against the idea that the pirate accent actually comes from that, because again, you're going to hire people from, even if you are doing that, you're going to have people from Africa, you're going to have people from Turkey. You know, you're going to have
that Disney is the origin of the pirate accent. Like they're the ones that put this out into the zeitgeist. So our impressions of what a pirate sounds like comes from Walt Disney.
Yeah, and at least twice when I was working on the whale camp and we were on schooners, I did get stuck in a pirate accent all day, at least twice. You do it a couple times, and suddenly you're just everything's going to be this for the rest of the day. You know, it happens. Especially when you're like 22 years old and you're stupid. All you 22-year-olds out there, you're stupid, says old man Matt. Okay. Maybe I alienated 5 people. We'll see. Who would you like to alienate or not alienate? I guess that's actually what I want to say if we're doing plugs now.
Oh, if we're doing well, to keep with the nautical theme, I've got another podcast series that I highly recommend you check out. It's called Under the Docks. DOCS, and it's where we kind of break down documentaries. And because I'm Paranoid American, the first 20 or 30 episodes are pretty much all conspiracy documentaries. So we do Alex Jones, we've done David Icke, we do the Zeitgeist, we do just all of these classic conspiracy videos from the 80s and 90s, and then we're going to start branching out into like more mainstream kind of documentaries. But we've had a great time doing it so far. People seem to have really loved our Alex Jones Bohemian Grove breakdown. We've done Loose Change. We've done episodes on Waco and Oklahoma City. So highly recommend. Go check that out. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, just search for Under the Docks.
And on me and ye mateys head for podcastios.org, where me and me mates talk about all sorts of media. It's a Twilight Zone on Time Enough podcast. It's really good movies and really bad movies. Sometimes the flip happens on Films and Filth. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, pretty good movie.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I gotta say it 3 times. I did it twice. You did the 3rd. There we go. Anyway, that's enough for me plugging. So let's push thing off and go into the corporate waters.
Let's go to Singapore.
And all American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all the land and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
Explore the unique with Paranoid American sticker sheets. Unearth tales of cryptids, cults, and mysteries through each sticker. These won't last long. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
We're all American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all the land and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
What the heck are you waiting for? Discover the extraordinary with Paranoid American sticker sheets. From cryptids in the night to cults out of sight, each sticker is a unique find. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.